But let me now turn to the final speaker on this panel and introduce Itai Green, who's the founder and CEO of Innovate Israel. Over to you.
Hi, Shalom from Israel. So with your permission, I would like to use a few slides. So I'm going to speak about corporate open innovation, which is a huge opportunity following the COVID-19 crisis. During the crisis, we could find two types of employees, those that were at home watching Netflix and the other one that were working from day to night via Zoom, really trying to innovate even during the crisis. The best thing for innovation is really the COVID-19. I mean, there's some positive aspect in the coronavirus, and the innovation is really something that is growing during this time. In the next slide, you can see a quote that tells something that I think most of us agree upon, is that there is an arrogance of success of big corporations and also governments that tend to think that what used to work for them in the past is going to be enough in the future. And during the COVID-19, it is clear for, I think, everyone that what used to be enough is not enough anymore. And during the crisis, we could see that corporations and governments that were more tech-oriented were more flexible to handle the crisis. So the more techy you are, the more flexible you are to deal with unexpected crises like the COVID-19. Another thing is that everyone is now looking into efficiency, maximizing efficiency. And it is another thing that the only way, I think, almost the only way to deal with is with technology. So technology is absolutely a good thing to rely on when we are trying to recover. In the next slide, there is a quote that actually is the core idea of open innovation. It's no matter who you are, even if you are Facebook or Google, most of the smartest people work for someone else. It's a matter of statistics. And I hope you agree with that. And it means that following the COVID-19, in order to stay relevant, we have to collaborate. We have to partner. We have to partner with those smart people, with those third parties. It might be other companies, other governments, other academy professionals, and also startups, which is an area where Israel is very strong at. The open innovation methodology is the lowest risk with the greatest ROI in order to stay relevant. And in the next slide, you can see I was publishing recently an article sharing 10 tips for corporate open innovation with startup companies. In the next slide, if you can move to the next one. Yes. So with your permission, I would like to focus today only on the first tip, and the other 9 you're more than welcome to read by yourself. So the first tip is the commitment. It is a commitment of the board. It is a commitment, as you can see in the next slide, it is a commitment of the board. It is a commitment of the C-level. It is a commitment of the government or of the parliament. It is super important to have this commitment for open innovation. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen. And in the next slide, you can see that board members in many of the boards that we are familiar with are not really familiar with open innovation, the value of that, what's in it for us, what value it's going to provide for the company or for the government. And one of the things that everyone needs to concentrate on is to make these board members be much more familiar with open innovation, because and when they don't know, it's a problem. And the more they know, the more they will know about open innovation, the better performance we're going to see in the companies. And diversity is the key. diversity in the board, diversity in the C-level. We all know that it is super important to have women in boards, but it is also important to have other people rather than people who are specialized in finance and economy and business. We need to have in boards also people who are professional in innovation and technology. In the next slide, you'll see that in Israel, it is mandatory by law that in each and every bank, there is going to be at least one board member who is professional in innovation and technology. Also, by the way, Instagram CEO joined Walmart board for the same reason, because of diversity importance. And in the next slide, you'll see that it's not my theory, it is based on MIT research. They found that when you have 3 board members who are specialized with technology and innovation, the bottom line, the business bottom line of the company is going to be better than its competitors. And this is a simple, minor change which any government can implement in a day or in a week, and the impact is huge. So I highly recommend, and we have here great people, senior people from the government of Greece and Cyprus. I think this change, which is little, huge impact, and I highly recommend to do it, because this will help the companies to adopt innovation faster and stay relevant. The average age of board members is 60. It is too old. Only 2% of board members are below the age of 55. It should be at least 10%. And this is another aspect of diversity, which is so important, and we have to change it to reduce the age and to have more young people who are much more relevant to the business than those that are currently around the board. In Israel, there is a goal for the governmental companies to have 20% of the board members below the age of 40. And I highly recommend that you will follow Accor Shadow XCOM, which is exactly based on this idea. Bring young people to the board, again, diversity, in order to make the decisions of the board much more relevant to a time like 2020, where things are changing so fast, and challenges that we had on March 1st are irrelevant on October 1st. When you have such board members, you suddenly allocate time for innovation, for budget, for innovation, and a lot more. And please, we can skip to the next slide, to the last slide. I hope that I was able to provide you with a concrete tip. As I've mentioned, there are other 9 tips. It is super important for governments and for companies to stay relevant. And the only way in a time where changes are so fast is to partner, is to collaborate with startups. And Israel, with this respect, is very, very strong asset for the Mediterranean. Thank you very much.